We've discussed a lot about getting and submitting your academic documents, but not about how universities use your academic documents in making an admission decision. Back in week 2, when you were self-assessing, you took a look at your academic qualifications as if you were an admission officer. The things we looked at and the questions we asked are just some of the ways your academic documents will be evaluated. As I mentioned, your academics are the most important piece of your application. Because of that, they're going to be sliced, diced, and looked at under a microscope. Universities are going to look at your courses. You already know that your courses are important, but how important depends on the university. Great examples are Wesleyan University and Kenyon College. Wesleyan lists on their class of 2017 profile that 88% of students have taken calculus and that 85% of students have taken biology, chemistry, and physics. On Kenyon's class of 2017 profile, they list that 64% of their students have taken calculus, and that the average number of science units or courses is 4. Now, does this mean that you will be denied at Wesleyan or Kenyon if you did not take calculus or if you did not take enough science? No. But it does mean that your courses and which courses you have taken is something that they are looking at and something that they care about. Similarly, universities are going to look at how the classes you have taken have prepared you for your field of study. If you're planning to study math, science, or engineering and you have not taken calculus, that could hurt your chances of admission much more than, say, a history major who has not taken calculus. Did your high school classes prepare you for the subjects that you will study in college? The classes you have taken and the challenge presented by those classes say a lot about how ready you are for your university studies. Your classes are going to be more important for some schools and less important for others, but all schools are going to look at what you studied. Universities are also going to look at your grades. First, how did you do overall? Your overall grade average gives an overall impression of who you are academically. A 4.0 out of a 4.0 gives a very different impression than a 2.0 out of a 4.0. The overall average gives an impression, but unless you have a perfect average, which most students do not, it's only an impression and not a clear picture about your academics. To get that clear picture, admission officers will look much deeper. What are your individual grades? Are there individual grades that stand out for being higher or lower than your average? If so, do those high or low grades have something in common? For instance, if you have perfect grades in all of your arts and humanities classes, but low grades in all of your math and science classes, what does that mean? At some schools, they might say, no problem. This student is going to major in fine arts, so we don't mind the lower math and science grades. At other schools, they're going to say, big problem. This student is only interested in one subject area, but we want well-rounded students. This is an example of a trend, and when looking at grades, admission officers are looking for trends. Was your academic performance consistent or inconsistent, up and down? Is there an upward trend in your academic performance, or maybe a downward trend in your academic performance? As the academic challenges grew in school, how did your academic performance respond to those challenges? If you have identified a weakness or something strange within your academic documents, you need to explain it. For instance, a failing grade in a subject area where you otherwise have high grades needs to be explained. One single academic term where your grades are lower than usual needs to be explained. National exam results that are lower than expected based on your grades should also be explained. Even choosing to take less challenging courses when more challenging courses were available is something that you might want to talk about. Most applications will give you a space where you can write about what happened. On the Common Application, this question is listed as, "Please provide an answer below if you wish to provide details of circumstances or qualifications not reflected in the application." There is usually a story that goes along with an academic oddity. Make sure you tell that story in the space that is given to you. If you don't tell an admission counselor what happened, how are they ever going to know? As we discussed in week 2, you need to look at your academic documents and be realistic about what they show an admission officer. A university will never tell a student not to apply. A university will never answer a question about your chances of getting in based on your grades or academics. A university will never be able to tell you how one bad grade or one course choice is going to affect your entire application or your admission chances to that school. You have to look at your documents and see what an admission officer sees. All admission officers will be looking at the same documents. But admission counselors at reach schools, target schools, and safety schools are going to see those documents very differently.